Hi there, Doc from Barcast Audio here today to talk with you about how I pass the bar and the tips you can use to pass the bar yourself as well. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so I passed the uniform bar exam back in July of 2019. Then I took the February 2020 Florida bar exam. So I've taken two, passed both on the first try. And I just want to talk with you about some best practices for passing the bar exam on your first try. The first best practice I really want to dig into that will help you, that helped me, is to establish consistency, establish a consistent routine and schedule early on in the bar prep process. A lot of your life to this point, in all likelihood, has been relatively regimented between law school, college. Whether you were working before this, you show up you show up at one time, you have a class, or you have work, you proceed from there. You know what you have to do, and the bar prep courses often offer you a lot of agency. They give you a lot of materials. They give you what you should be doing that day. For the most part, nobody's holding your hand throughout this process. You are given the materials you need to pass the bar exam, probably more than enough in most cases, and then you are expected to kind of work at your own pace. I know people still do the in-person lectures, but they're becoming increasingly rare. I think by most accounts, the prevailing way to learn at this point is to just do the on-demand lectures. So whatever way you're going about learning for the bar exam, just make sure early on you establish a consistent routine. And what that means is, for me, what that meant for me was I use my mornings predominantly to intake information, to absorb new information, or obviously not a lot of this is new because you covered in law school, but to absorb information. So the mornings were focused on watching the lectures, taking notes, and essentially just taking in new stuff. Then I took a lunch break. The lunch break is important. Every day I took it about 1 o'clock. I would shut off my phone from the moment I got to my desk at around 9 or 9:30 or sometimes 8:30, sometimes 10, whatever it may be, whatever time you're starting that day. Shut off your phone, unplug from the world, lock into whatever you're doing, whether it be watching a lecture or taking notes, whatever it may be. And then at 1 o'clock, at whenever you're ready for lunch, take that break, plug back in, read something, watch a show, whatever it takes for you to briefly unwind, because you have the entire back half of the day still left ahead of you. So on the back end of the day, what I recommend always to students is to focus that second half of the day on actively studying, doing something with what you learned earlier in the day. Make some kind of work product. That doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're outlining everything. I think for the most part, that is not a good use of your time. There's simply too much information to take down for you to outline everything you learn throughout the bar prep process. However, I do strongly recommend that you do something to create a work product, whether that be creating some sort of flashcards for areas that weren't really coming to you easily, whatever it may be. Do something active. Also, another possible alternative as you move through the bar exam process, when you start to do practice questions, I suggest the use of a wrong answer book, a book that you essentially write in all your wrong answers that you've gotten wrong in a multiple choice set. Write the rule statements for all those wrong answers. So you're shoring up your areas of weakness. You don't want to make the same mistake 5 times. It's okay to make the same mistake twice. It's okay to make the same mistake 2 times. But after that, that's when we want to see improvement. I don't want to see you getting the same rule wrong over and over and over again. 5 weeks into the process, you shouldn't be getting the same rule you got wrong 5 weeks earlier. And the way you do that, the way you ensure that, is not just by memorization. It's by actively doing something in the afternoons to effectuate memorization. It doesn't just come naturally. Just by doing this process, you're not going to naturally start to memorize things. But you need to do something. You need to do something active, work product-wise, to make something with the information you've taken in the morning, so that you can go home at night and say, okay, I took in a lot of information in the morning, then I turn that into this in the afternoon. Turn that information into something, whatever it may be, in the afternoon. And as the process proceeds, as you get deeper into bar prep, you will quickly find that you are memorizing things that you didn't even realize you were memorizing. Things are starting to come together for you. It's not an easy process, it's not a quick process, but it's important that you establish a routine early on. I was able to, during the bar prep process, cut off at 6 o'clock, hard cut off. I was able to hang out. I was able to enjoy my evenings for myself, and I wasn't burnt out. Another key element of this routine that you're developing early on is it will prevent you from burning out. The bar prep experience is a marathon, not a sprint. So if you sprint to the finish, if you are somebody who is I'm going to study for 14 hours a day the first 2 weeks, you are going to burn out. There's simply just no other option there. You are going to burn out by the time the exam season comes along. I strongly suggest you don't overdo it early. Know that this is a marathon and not a sprint, and do not burn yourself out early on in this process. Next up, in terms of tips, how I pass the bar exam, make sure that every wrong answer for you is an opportunity. Whether that's a wrong answer on a multiple choice question, I already mentioned this idea of a wrong answer book, or an essay where you simply flounder. Every wrong answer for you must be an opportunity to shore up your knowledge, to solidify rules that maybe you don't have down yet. Do not simply look at an answer and say, crap, I really just don't get this. That's not enough. You need to use every wrong answer, every floundered essay as an opportunity to better yourself, to tune up your knowledge as we get deeper into this process. Don't get down on yourself. This is a tough test. And only by using these wrong answers, every wrong answer, every wrong essay as an opportunity will you start to really see improvements. Third, perhaps the most important tip that I give everyone. The bar exam is maybe 60% psychological. I know it's a lot of memorization. I know it's a lot of the law, but there is simply no way to overcome a poor mindset throughout this process. There are many students, thousands each year, who enter this test already having failed. And it's not that they don't know the law. It's not that they're not intelligent. It's just that they were defeated mentally before they even walked in the doors. They just could not overcome the sheer anxiety, the sheer dismay they have about the potential of failing. You need to be in tip-top psychological shape, tip-top mental shape as you enter this exam. You need to borrow some other person's irrational confidence in yourself. Whatever you have to do to get there mentally, you need to do it, because if you get down on yourself, if you are not at the very least confident that as long as you do the work prescribed to you, do the work provided to you by your course, by whoever is giving it to you, you need to know that as long as you do all the work necessary, everything assigned to you, you have to have the confidence that you will pass the bar exam come exam day. I'm confident in you. You need to keep that confidence throughout this process, even at the times where things are low, where you feel like you're starting to forget things, because that will happen, right? There are things that you're learning in week 1 that you will feel like you're really on top of in week 3, but by the time week 6 rolls around, you don't even remember. You're starting to lose it a little bit. So don't worry, that's normal. It's part of the process. You can always go back, fill in those blank areas. This is a lot of stuff to know, a lot of stuff to memorize. I believe in you. Don't lose confidence. Remember that part of this test is psychological. Now, the fourth sort of big tip, best practice that I'm going to get into here with you is really just that you need to be writing essays. There's no other way about it. There's no way around it. I know it's not fun. I know it's not cool. It's not enjoyable. But you need to fail at some essays, because failing at essays is a key part of this process. There is an idea that the biggest and best tip I ever got was that you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable when it comes to essays on the bar exam. There's going to come a moment, no matter how much you study, no matter how long you study, where on your bar exam, you're going to look at an essay and you're going to say, I have no idea what this is about. And it'll be brief. For some people, it may be a little bit longer. But regardless, you will be able to come up with something to connect the facts to a rule statement one way or another. As long as you are sticking with your program, trusting this process, then you will ultimately be able to do that. And the only way to get there, the only way to really have trust in this process, to really improve as an essay writer, is by doing essays even when you don't really know the law. To fail at these essays, to perform poorly, is once again an opportunity for you yourself. There's no way around it. Don't just be outlining constantly. You need to actually practice timed essays, closed book, even if you don't feel like you're really ready to do it. That's one of the more important things I'm going to tell you. Write out these essays. Don't skip it. It's not pleasant. It's not fun, but you got to do it, guys. The fifth and final key tip I'm going to give you for passing the bar exam is simply not to cut corners. A lot of times, students want to maybe skip over a subject, skip over one thing or another. They don't think the trust is going to pop up. They don't think that this area of contracts is going to pop up. And I'm telling you, do not do that, because the year that you do that, the time that you do that, is the year that that subtopic, that sub area is going to pop up on the exam, and you are going to be left with your pants down. You don't want to do that, because so often students try to make predictions. They try to predict what essays are going to be in the bar exam. And some of these websites are pretty good at doing that. But you can't do it. It's just not a successful strategy over the long term. You will be embarrassed if that subject pops up and you are just blanking. You have nothing to write because you just don't know the rule well. Know everything to the best of your ability. Don't cut any corners here. Do what you need to do. Do the work prescribed, and know that as long as you do that, you will be in a good position come exam day. One of the most helpful things for me, the final sort of tip I'll give you here, is that I also made the most of my commute time and my gym time. I created audio outlines for myself that I listened to at the gym while I was commuting to the library, to and from. I didn't waste any time. I had to go to a wedding during bar prep, and I created audio outlines for myself to listen to that were super instrumental. I made up mnemonics for myself. I strongly recommend you check out Barcast Audio's audio materials if you are somebody who is going somewhere to study, if you are somebody who just doesn't want to be shackled to a desk all day. They're really useful, really helpful tool to help you get out of the library and still be studying, still feel like you're actually doing something. That does it for us. Be sure to check us out at barcastaudio.com. We have all sorts of essay attack sheets, audio outlines, audio flashcards, everything you need to pass the bar exam. Check us out at barcastaudio.com.